And we're back here once again with another episode of the MSK show. And this is going to be episode 38. And in this episode of the MSK show, I will be having a conversation with Mr. Chris Kola. This is going to be his first appearance on the channel and on this show, actually. So what's going on, man? How are you doing?
Good, yeah. Thanks for having me. Usually, I'm the one emailing people or messaging them for guest spots, so it was nice to be the other way around for once.
Had to reverse it on you. You're like, wait a minute, this is not the correct way it's done.
No, my controversial video took off, and then suddenly,
You know what's crazy? I've been doing this for so long, emailing people, messaging them. I'm not the whole like email person to get on a podcast. Generally, I'm still getting used to that because I don't really like check my email for like podcast appearances. Because I tell some big people, you get those guys on, you have to like email them because like if they leave their DMs open on like Twitter, then they'll just get flooded with people asking them questions. So I've learned to basically diversify my ways of getting to people. So we'll start right here. Since this is your first appearance on the show, we'll start here because that way, if you come on for a second and third appearances, we don't got to do this again. So,
Perfect.
How was your life growing up? Actually,
pretty good. I was a homeschool kid, and then I went to community college for my high school. So, my mom was like, you're pretty smart, but you're very lazy. So we're gonna force you to go somewhere that pushes you a little bit.
Wait, so you were pretty much homeschooled your entire life,
yeah,
and then you went to community college.
Yeah, which probably leads to a bit of a strange perspective.
We have a community college here, and the amount of weirdos you meet there is on levels I don't even think people would even be able to understand, actually.
Oh, I understand perfectly.
there are people that are having conversations, not like stuff you'd hear on Twitter, but they're just completely weird. Like they smell, they have nasally voices, like the actual like straight up nerds that you hear about on like the internet.
Oh, yeah.
People are, this one guy was having a conversation about what color underwear Deadpool wears, and I'm just like, who fucking talks like that? That's so cringe. Like, thank God I don't ever go there again.
It was where I first met a brony, way back in like 2012 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Community college, you'll get all different perspectives of life there, especially the most like cringiest ones.
Oh, yeah. And then I went to a bit of film school, and then financial aid cut me, so I stopped going to film school. And I kind of worked around managing warehouses, things like that, just for fun and for money, of course, as you do.
Yeah.
And then now I do video editing.
Okay. So you graduated from community college, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have that. Yeah. Didn't get a bachelor's, though, sadly.
And then you got married after that? You had like kids or whatever?
No, not yet. But it's in the works, we'll say.
Oh my God. It's in production. It's in pre-production, Final product may come out next year. So you enjoy being married, I imagine, right?
Well, I'm not married, just to clarify. But I am, it's like I'm engaged, so.
It's a step. Awesome. Yeah. So what's your advice you give to men out there who struggle with getting girls? Because since you're obviously a, hot, cool, tall, dark, handsome guy, and you picking up all the chicks.
That's good. Yeah, be 6'3" like me, and then things will just come together.
Yeah, I don't got those short guy problems, man. People like there's some things on the internet that you hear in real life that are just not that big a deal, but on the internet they're like the worst things ever.
Yeah,
like
in real life,
pineapple on pizza, short guys who pays on the first date. Those are like the top 3 that always get cycled up. Like, if a girl's like, I don't like short guys, then I could just say, I don't like fat bitches. Pretty simple, right? Guess we could just start talking shit about each other, but apparently that's bigoted now, or racist. All like, give me the gun. Holy shit.
You know what? I'll say like real life advice, ignore most of that stuff, because that's just, if you're somebody who's socially awkward, you're just gonna be adding layers of thought into your brain over and over and over again, and you're just gonna cycle on yourself. That's just not gonna be good for you. You should just sort of find a hobby that you like. I met my lady through writing, because it was something I like doing. So there's always something. Maybe your loved one's in the chat right now. You never know.
You never know. Some gamer chick, you might want to take me up on that offer. I'm just kidding. That's how you rizz up the ladies now. You got to just rizz them. What you
do. Put them on the spot.
Later on, what happened after that?
Yeah, for the most part, it's been a pretty normal career path. I was managing stuff like that. It's nice. It's easy enough. That's not too bad. But then I went on and I decided to apply for something like a video editing position like I have now. And first I was told no. And then I said, I'm not going to take a no for an answer. So I edited together a project and they're like, for an interview. And then that's how you do it. That's how you have to do
Yeah.
it in the job market. You have to like say, I'm not going to take no for an answer. Not for
Yeah.
dating. I don't know about for dating. I wouldn't take that advice from there.
Well, that's how you end up in Joker 2.
Oh, well, I mean, that's hard, I guess.
Like, there are definitely some people I know who are not qualified for their jobs, but they just learn from the people that work there, and then later on they just got the skills to do it. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, if it's one of those things where if you are not what someone wants, you could, in theory, without breaking your entire morale perspective, you could just mold yourself into that if you really want to do it. Obviously don't just lose yourself and all that, but it's another thing you could always do. So I'll ask you this because apparently you're a film critic and you're a video editor. So
Yeah.
who inspired you to do YouTube first? Like, were you a huge fan of somebody and you were inspired by their channel, so you wanted to do your own? Actually,
A little bit of that, yeah.
Mhm,
I when I started going to high school is when I got my first cell
mhm.
phone, and then my first cell phone is when I got to start watching YouTube for the first time on my own. And I found, and you're gonna probably cringe about this if you know about who they are at all, but the Channel Awesome people, Nostalgia Critic, all those guys, like that
You know what?
old school cringe.
I like them. I like
I do
Nostalgia
too.
Critic. I don't get why people hate him. It's because I think people just hate successful people. Doug really doesn't do anything
No,
wrong.
he's a good guy as far as I can tell.
I've never
Yeah.
seen that guy in any controversy ever, and I've been following that guy since like 2000 fucking
Well, there
12,
have been
10
attempts
maybe.
at
Yeah,
controversy with him,
yeah.
but, yeah, I mean, it sort of started with that. I went, "Oh, that's really cool that people can talk
Mhm.
about movies like I do and, can make some money off of it." And so I thought, "You know what? Why not give it a shot myself?" More recently, it's people like, Red Letter Media. If you know Red Letter Media, those guys are big. I also really kinda like Mahler, like that group, the EFAP crew, if you know them. Yeah, that group. They're all pretty good. I prefer that kind of analytical stuff. Although I know my take on the Joker 2 has been controversial, so I can't be too far in line.
I will always say this. I just enjoy if people have the balls to say they like something that is popularly disliked by a general consensus. Because even if you're like one of the few people that do like it, well, at least you're someone that's honestly saying that, and you're not trying to say it because you're just because people fake do it. They'll say it, but
Yeah,
it's just trying to garner like just some immediate engagement. There are people that genuinely like considerably bad movies by a lot of people's standards that they enjoy, and that's what makes movies so good. It's
yeah,
all going to be a
exactly.
subjective thing. That's why when people started using that word objective, really, really just a lot, you can't really use that for movies. Yeah, if people want to really break that down, objectively, there are some really, really shit movies made. But if I don't see it as shit, it doesn't matter because my eyes are not yours, and we can look at things differently, though.
Yeah, I mean, what I'd say when they mean what they mean by objective is probably something like, well, this aspect is done poorly, or something like that. Like, oh, the
Oh
writing
yeah.
isn't, but there's always something fun to get out of it. I really enjoy B movies. I love stuff like The Room, like Miami Connection, like all these classic ones that people talk about. I grew actually, because we grew up kind of broke. We'd go to the dollar store bin.
What's kind of broke? I had broke where I had a can of beans probably on my refrigerator till the end of the
Yeah,
month.
it was close to that. It's like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
grocery. It's like, well, I guess
First of the
God's providing
month. When you went to the
groceries this
store
time.
first of the month, you were like, man, that's the happiest time in the world. Food again.
Yeah, yeah. I'm the eldest of 5 kids to put in the context. So,
Oh
yeah,
God,
yeah.
man. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so, there was a lot of that, and we would always go to the dollar store, and in the dollar store bin were all the dollar movies, and, so there are a lot of, terrible, terrible movies I enjoyed, like, for example, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, which is
Mhm,
objectively boring and horrible, but I have some nostalgia for it. So there's some things you can kind of just go, "Alright, I know that's bad, but there's something I
mhm,
like about it," and then, for me, that led me to thinking, "Why do I like this thing? Like, what makes me want to keep watching this again?" And
mhm.
there's always something, because movies don't like accidentally happen, right? They're made
Yeah.
by somebody for some reason with something behind it.
I will never say Catwoman's good. I'm just gonna
No.
always say that. Now, this is what people need to understand when it comes to like, I guess you could say film analysis. You could know a movie's bad, and other people can know it's bad. But even in a movie like Catwoman, even though I think it's like a 1 out of 10, maybe zero if we're really, really, really honest. I like the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack's kind of funky and kind of cool for that time period. That doesn't mean I like it. I'm just saying, hey, I think the soundtrack's kind of cool. That's it. But someone would take that now and be like, you like the movie. It's like, are you on crack? You smoking weed or something? Like, people don't even listen anymore. It's like I say something, it just goes through because they're just trying to get to the next point. That happens so much with like movie conversations now. That's why I always prefer
Yeah.
talking about movies with like doing this
In
because
person, yeah.
yeah, because there's a reason why I stopped typing out paragraphs on Twitter is because I'm just wasting my time doing that. I'll call someone stupid, obviously, or call a person an idiot.
Yeah.
That's easy. But I'm not gonna sit there and be like, why do you like this movie? I'm not about to write a 3-paragraph essay out for you. If you don't like it, cool, good story. Now we move on. Like, why am I trying to convince a random person of what I like? Does it matter at all? That person not changing their mind anyway, you know?
Yeah, exactly, especially not on Twitter. Twitter kinda exists just to win points for, your
Yeah,
side, so to speak, if you know what I
yeah.
mean? Which is not it's not really my thing. I don't know if you've, seen any of the stuff I post on Twitter, it's usually like, "Oh,
I
this
do.
thing's interesting. This
Yeah.
thing's cool," more than, "Oh, this person's really stupid." Believe me, I've typed out a lot of those messages, and I go, what am I doing?"
Mhm.
Usually typing it out is enough for me to go, "Alright, I was angry, and then I'm done."
I
Uh,
even say this with the Disney Star Wars movies too. I don't I mean, given how much they're badly talked about, even in real life, those movies are not fondly talked about good by a lot of people. If there's people out there that actually like The Last Jedi or Force Awakens or any of those Disney Star movies, that's fine. I'm not saying you can't like them. I'm just telling you I don't think they're good. And
yeah.
that's another thing that people need to understand is like you can have differing opinions on a movie, but you can still talk about it. Maybe you tell me the things you like about it, and I can go, maybe I don't like the movie, but maybe that part is good. I will give you that. That is something decent, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I will put it out there, I really dislike The Last Jedi.
I really hate it too.
I
It's
think most
actually just
people
straight up
yeah.
shit. It's
Yeah.
bad. I even
Yeah.
watched it again for a Star Wars project because I went, you know what? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was actually pretty good. No, it's just not good. That movie
No.
stinks.
It is, it's very bad, it's very poorly written, which is kinda sad because, Ryan
Mhm.
Johnson has done good things in the past. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Ever since he did the Last Jedi, people just act like he's just trash. I'm like, this guy made Knives Out. Knives Out is
yeah.
good.
I take the position that he probably did it on purpose. I think he went in wanting to ruin Star Wars for Disney. It wasn't really necessarily about the fans, although a bit later on that
Yeah.
would start developing when he started seeing the comments, but
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's unfortunate that that's the way that turned out. And by the time that the Rise of Skywalker came around, I just didn't want to see it.
What's honestly crazy is that JJ Abrams made an even worse movie than The Last Jedi. That's actually astonishing. I've never seen it happen. So The
Yeah,
Last Jedi is just viewed as a piece of shit, and then someone made an even bigger piece of shit. That takes actual skill. Congratulations, JJ. That is
yeah. One of
good job.
my former job, a couple jobs before this one, when that
Mhm.
movie was coming out, the boss is a huge Star Wars fan. He just
Yeah.
eats up everything, even the new stuff. He loved it so much. And I kept
Mhm.
telling him, I'm not going to go see it. I'm not going to go
Yeah.
see it. He's like, all right. It was like a month later. You're like, all right, we're going to
Mhm.
close down shop early. We're going to stop operations. I'm going to take you to see Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. And I was like, no. But I'm like, what am I going to say? No. We're going to
Yeah,
cut
yeah.
work
You can't
early and
say
go
no
watch
to
the
a free
movie.
movie ticket. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's why I
And
saw
then,
Last Jedi. Because growing
yeah,
up, I didn't watch Star Wars. It didn't click with
yeah,
me. Like other people did. So I had a date that night, and my friend was like, "You want to go see the Last Jedi with us?" And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Did you see the Force Awakens?" And I told him yes. I wasn't lying. I did see. I saw parts of it at their house. I just didn't care for. It. I was like,
yeah.
I was just snoring. I said I saw it, and then we went. We saw it, and I was like, wow, that's just terrible. I was like, people like this? That's bad. But then again, I learned there's a lot more to it than that. So
Oh,
yeah, the
yeah.
only reason why I even got into Star Wars because my friend gave me a free movie ticket.
Yeah, that's funny how that works. I got into Star Wars because my dad gave me, the novelization of The Empire Strikes Back. That
Oh
was the
shit.
first yeah, and then the second experience I had with Star Wars was the novelization of The Phantom Menace. So I got really the full range there right
Mhm.
away of the best one, at least at the time, and the worst one, at least at the time.
Would you say the novelizations were better? Or at
Um,
least the Phantom Menace?
yeah, probably. I think it's definitely better for, The Revenge of the Sith because you get a lot more context that gets cut out
Yeah,
in the final
yeah,
cut.
I would say that
Um,
because I my favorite prequel movie is Revenge of the Sith, even though there's some major flaws in it. The book actually explains so much more, and it makes everything feel a lot more like
yeah.
what's the best word of saying? Like it cohesively flows a lot better. Actually,
Yeah, yeah, I think so, definitely. But It's funny because that's like it's not a very normal approach to it. Like, but
Oh yeah.
that's just that's growing up broke, I guess. I used to be really into comics, but I couldn't afford any of them, so I just go online and read the wikis about comic book issues. You know what I mean?
I was yeah, same here. That's the only way I was able to keep up with comics throughout the years is, we had manga growing up, but that's easier to purchase at $10 than a comic that's like
Yeah.
$5 in a shop because we didn't have a comic book shop around us. So we only got comics through like news. There would be like our newspaper subscription. When that used to be a thing where someone used to throw a paper on your doorstep, and then there was like encyclopedias for characters like Spider-Man. That's how I got.
I had one of
comics.
those.
Those are
Yeah.
those are so cool. Good. Those are amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a comic shop around me, so I just go on like the internet and just read. People were like, so that make you a real fan. I didn't have any money.
Yeah, exactly.
I was broke.
The only comic I was able to consistently collect was the Bionicle because it came in the Lego magazine. Yeah.
So you ended up doing YouTube because you were inspired by Nostalgia Critic. So how did you get better at doing it?
Yeah. I want to clarify also that was only the starting. I got inspired also by Red Letter Media and the people like that.
Oh yeah.
As far as getting better at that, so like early COVID when all the lockdowns and everything as you do,
oh, damn.
Everybody's super isolated and everything, and I had a social group that kind of fell apart, and I was like, you know what? I have free time now. Why not give it a shot? And boy, does it suck initially. You just kind of have to start doing things, and then eventually things will start falling into place. That's true of most skills. Is you can only really learn by doing. With this public speaking especially, it's very difficult because you have to keep practicing, and being on live streams like this, it's always fun. Like I think it's really fun, but organizing your thoughts in a way that's entertaining is tough. I'd say.
Yeah, I think what generally separates people that can do YouTube better is knowing how to put out a thought and then back up your thought with why you came to that thought. But that gets really hard if you have a big video where you're trying to do like multiple things. Like with news videos, it's easier because you're kind of just going piece by piece, and you can kind of, if you're like reading an article, you can kind of section off where your thoughts are going. But if you're doing like an informational video, like video essays or whatever, then that's a little more harder to do because you'd be like, well, how does this scene play out? Well, I think it played out because of all these other reasons, and you have to come back to that main reason that you started with. So it's like like getting a bunch of ingredients for a soup. So essentially, you're a soup maker.
Yeah, basically, and I've made quite the soup recently.
Yeah.
I rushed that video essay out immediately after watching the movie. I was like, wait a second, I have to write for the next 3 days and then edit for the next 7 or whatever it was.
Gamer Chick says there are things in things that you can point out as objective truth, like an action a character takes that's objectively evil. Oh yeah, that stuff's fine. It's just generally for me, if someone just says you can't like this movie because it's objectively bad, it's like, well, you can like whatever you like. They have no control over you essentially because of that. Now, if there are just horrible things like the movie The Flash, there's honestly not even just objectively bad things in that piece of shit. It's a lot of bad things. If someone likes The Flash, even if you point out those bad things, I'm not taking their opinion seriously, probably, but I can respect it, right?
Yeah, I think the difference is saying it's good versus saying I liked it. That's probably the best way to put it. It's like I like this thing and it's not good, but
and most people will tell you too. Most people will say like, "Hey, the Fast and Furious movies aren't good, but I enjoy watching them."
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a big issue with a lot of video content on YouTube in general. Is a lot of people have like a mindset behind it they're trying to force onto an audience or trick an audience into going into, and so they're not very honest about what they're saying and what they're doing. Instead of saying I liked it because of these reasons, they're saying I liked it because it's very good and objectively good, and that's why. And you're wrong for not.
Like usually content like that, even though what's being said is very just off-putting, at least the video production of it is good. It's sad because you wasted good video production on a video like that where they could just say, hey, I like this movie for various reasons, and that's kind of just how my conclusion comes to it. But no, it's just like if you don't like this, then you're a fucking idiot and you should learn how to watch cinema better. It's like, I can understand most time you're going to a movie theater, you are not trying to sit there and pay attention. I mean, you are essentially. I think people can tell you the surface level analysis of why they like something. But it goes to show you that the average person is going to sit theater probably because like their daughter did good at school or they want to take the kids out, whatever.
Yeah.
Just sit there and just sit there and just be entertained. Because that's why they call it just what? A popcorn movie, dumb entertainment. Like people aren't actively thinking about what made a scene really good. They can tell you on the surface of why it's good, but to really just tell you the ins and outs of it, no, average people just can't do that. There's no way.
Yeah.
Not by Twitter standards.
No, definitely not. I think a lot of people have very good instinct on what's good and bad. They just can't really say it. The issue with being kind of like a little educated about it, like I am, is that I can come across as like snobby, which is not really me at all. But like, like in my video, I'm using terms like meta narrative and stuff like that. I'm like,
you're just a genius.
I'm like explaining it, and I explain it out and everything. But I'm like, boy, people are gonna be annoyed by this.
Holy shit! Like, for me, the whole movie community, I'm not saying everybody, but there's like this unspoken rule or a general consensus that's been going around for many years at this point, maybe since like 2016, 17, somewhere around there, where a movie will come out, and if it's not like the best thing ever since sliced bread, it must be an absolute piece of trash that is unredeemable. Like that's like irredeemable. It's like I don't even know where that came from. I don't know who started it. I truly don't know. But that is just one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. If a movie's not a masterpiece, it's absolute trash. That doesn't even make sense.
No.
Because a movie could be what? Good, average, bad, amazing. Any adjective you want to use for it, you know? But just to be in good and bad is just stupid, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's a problem with reviews in general, for anything. Even if you go to like say Google reviews of your local liquor store or something, you know what I mean?
No.
Like,
no.
You go if you go to the one star, people only really leave reviews when they've had an emotional connection with something, you know what I mean? Or some reaction that's brought out of them. So either it's going to be a really negative or really positive, and there's no reason to go, it was okay. I like the soup all right. You know, they gave me my order. It was cool. Nobody's going to do that really. That's the big issue with the discourse on Twitter, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think another big part of it is like a content creator will say their opinion on a movie. And I'm not even saying they're like they're shill or anything. I'm saying like they'll have their opinion. This is their way of talking about movies. And then some of the people that follow them, they just agree with them and they'll never, ever even see the product for themselves. I'm not even saying you have to go to the theater.
Yeah.
As you know, movies release digitally like 3-4 weeks after the movie's out. You can literally, I shit people not. I'm not even trying to get your computer virus or anything. You can type up a new movie that has a new digital release. Type it up. It will come up and you can watch it literally in high definition, 1080p, 720, whatever, after the movie comes out digitally. So you can watch it for yourself in the comfort of your own home without even investing into the theater experience. But people don't even want to do that. They just rather just believe what they're told, other than like saying, hey, I watched this, and this is my conclusion. And even though you might agree with that person, what the point that I'm trying to bring up is you will come to your own conclusion about why you didn't like it. Because the reason why you would not like something is different from how that person wouldn't like it. It's just how human nature works. Unless you're just straight up an NPC, which your opinions. Anyway.
I was thinking about that recently. Is a lot of the time on like this side of the internet, so to speak, a lot of the assumption is that the thing is being made because they hate you. I'm like, I don't really think that's true. I think it's never. There's a rule in general is that you should never attribute to malice what should be attributed to stupidity. And I tend to think that it's probably just that they just didn't get it, or you just didn't, like, not going to say you didn't get it. That's the wrong way to put it. But like, there's just some kind of disconnect between what they put out and what.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. You're basically saying when people use the line of like they made this because they hate you, it's more along the lines of maybe these people are just like stupid. They don't actually understand what they're even putting together. And the other thing to bring up with that is, I would say unless they firmly like admit to some of that stuff in like interviews and stuff, then I don't really ever bring that up generally, unless it's actually just sort of admitted like, hey, I didn't really know why. Like Eli Roth, when he came to Borderlands, he admitted that he really didn't want to make Borderlands. He wanted to make this like Star Wars sci-fi movie or something. That's an interview. He put that out there for everyone to see. Yeah. So if it's something like that, or it's a written interview where like a producer on the project was like, hey, I didn't really like the way this went in this community, so I changed it. Unless it's that, I can understand where you're coming from. Yeah, because then people just assume, why would I want to go watch a product if they hate me? And it's like, well, we don't know. Because these are always different people working on different movies, different directors, different production staff, different caterers, different stunt coordinators. It's not the same people each time, you know. But then again, trying to provide analysis on that is just you're talking to the choir because people just would think you're a shill for saying that just deliberately.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Even though I tried to be relatively balanced in my video, I've gotten a few comments here and there that are like, well, I won't repeat because I can't say on stream some of the things they said, but that's okay. I'm like, look,
Did they
I've
say
grown
you're
up.
black? Oh no.
Yeah, well, no. I don't think they would make the mistake, but maybe.
there's a whole genre of B horror movies that are objectively bad and people love them for that reason.
Yeah.
That's enough. I'm actually glad you brought that up. People don't understand. Not every single movie is made with the intention of it being like an Academy Award winning movie. I don't even know where that's come from. Like, not every movie is even trying to be that because of these specific genre it's in, and different directors and different producers each time and different writers are definitely not writing for that. And I'll be honest here, Academy Awards are pretentious bullshit anyway, and they don't matter in the grand scheme of things. So the fact that people think, well, unless this movie was nominated for an award, it's not cinema. And it's like, the word cinema means going to see movies at the theaters. So literally, I could just say Fast and Furious movies are cinema because I've seen them at the theater. That's about as low IQ as you can get, but hey, I'll take my wins where I can get them.
Well, it's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it. To quote Princess Leia or whatever.
Well, the other thing I'll ask you recently is Joker 2 came out, and you had a video on your channel about the movie. So obviously, before we talk about that video, which is, did you like the first movie that came out for it?
Yeah, I did. I think it was a lot smarter than I thought it was going to be, and a really good performance. That was the part that really carried it the most. I think that character, that performance by Joaquin Phoenix really resonated at a time, and I really hated how the media surrounding that were almost like they were hoping something bad would happen at one of the showings. You know what I mean? There was a lot of articles at the time coming out where they were like, "Oh, we got to have police guards here because somebody's gonna do something crazy." Because it was like about the incels craze, like that whole thing that was going on at the time. So I really like that movie. It's bad, although I mean, the film stopping me is like, well, it is sort of just like The King of Comedy, and it is sort of just like Taxi Driver, but it's its own new thing too. It helps present the same ideas from those to a new audience, I would say.
So for me, in the first movie, I actually enjoyed it outside of the weird stuff that it did that I didn't care for. Like, I don't know why the movie chose to tie in a Bruce Wayne angle to it, and it's supposed to be just like a movie based off the Joker,
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to have the end of the movie show that Joe Chill kills Bruce's parents, because that doesn't mean anything. It's like, is that supposed to mean that basically because he did something bad that it caused this other guy to go kill these other people? Even if that ties into the movie, he doesn't need to be there, right?
Yeah.
There's just a few things I didn't like personally, but I actually thought the movie was generally misunderstood. A lot of people thought it was like a prequel, like a origin movie for the Joker, even though if the movie's loosely based off the Killing Joke, well, Joker has no origin. So it can't be an origin movie if the character himself has no origin. This is just, I would say, Todd Phillips and that writer he had on the movie's interpretation of what the Joker's origin would be. And it had the one bad day element. He lost his sign. He was almost mugged on the subway.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure oh my goodness, he couldn't ask out the girl. I remember that. And there was another thing that happened that I fucking forgot. But I remember there's a bunch of bad things happened to him, and then he snapped and killed people, And I think the movie was actually a lot more better than people gave it credit for. I understand the divisive parts. I don't like those either. But overall, for the experience, I enjoyed it. Like, even when he had that conversation with Murray, where he said, well, if you just saw me lying on the street dead, you'd walk past me. That's not the most truthful shit I've ever heard in a movie. I don't know what is, honestly.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, when he was just Arthur Fleck, no one gave a fuck about him. That's true. That is part of what the movie is trying to tell you is, hey, if I'm this guy, no one cares. But if I'm some villainous, psychopathic maniac, you'll care about me more.
Yeah, I mean, it had really good commentary on how society fails people who are on the edges of it, I think is the main point of it. Like, there's a bit where he can't get his medication refilled and that sort of thing. It's about the failure of society to care for the people who need it the most, I think, is the main point of it. I really do like that scene where he has to defend himself in the subway, and then it kind of switches, like the switch in his brain flips, and he realizes, oh, actually, finally I feel power for the first time in my life. and that's what, that step where he turns into Joker. I think that's a really interesting scene. Um,
Mm.
yeah, but
I think what was one of the best parts of oh, it was the last part of the movie where he basically kind of became like the clown prince of crime. That was another good part too. And people had said the last part where he was in the asylum, I think that always ties into that movie too. That's why I prefer if the movie was just a one and done thing, because it
yeah,
could give you more of a surreal experience about like, hey, if one bad day happens, then maybe the Joker could become a thing, Because in the last part of the movie, or sorry, the earlier part of it, it's shown that he never was dating Zazie Beetz' character. He was
yeah,
deranged
just
and mentally
hallucinating.
conjuring that up. Yeah, and that's believable because he says the first part of the movie, I need medication to make me feel better. And he was obviously, I think, not taking it at a single point. There was a lot of good. It's crazy that a movie like that
Yeah,
had so much good stuff in there, but nobody talked about it at all. All they mentioned was the Joker stuff. And like, I got the Joker stuff. I understood why it was initially not liked as much because the idea behind it. But I feel like the end product gave me a pretty good result. This guy had a horrible bad day that made him become the Joker, which is what the comic book did. that one was
yeah. No,
crazy.
yeah, no. I do agree, and I also think that it shouldn't have had a sequel necessarily. At least that was my initial feeling on it. But since we had the sequel, I decided to judge it based on that. Like, what does this film work? And I
So let's start there. So as people know, I did a Joker 2 open spoiler discussion. I myself did not like it as much, but I will say that there were some scenes in there that I did actually genuinely enjoy. And I told people, even if I don't like a movie that much, I will even point out some stuff that I like. I did like some of the courtroom stuff. I liked
yeah,
the best one is with the midget guy.
yeah, with Puddles, I think his name
Yeah,
is.
that
Yes, I
that
agree.
was he honestly acted. That was the best connection to the first one they could possibly give. I didn't feel like Zazie Beetz gave the best performance with her,
No,
but she did tie into the fact that no, they weren't ever dating. He's just mentally deranged, honestly.
yeah, I liked a lot of. I know musicals are not super popular these
Mhm,
days, but he really was homaging a lot of classic Hollywood musical dance numbers and things like that
mhm.
in the way it was performed. So I think a lot of that probably got overlooked because certain scene leaked out online and people went, "Wait a second, what happens in this movie?
Mhm.
What do they do to the Joker?" um, I think there's a lot of interesting character writing in it, and I think even if it sort of narrows down a lot of what could have potentially been said in the first movie, I feel like it
Mhm.
sort of focused it to an interesting point. Um,
Mhm. Do
yeah,
you feel like Harley Quinn's character is useless? I feel like she provided really nothing, honestly.
I thought of her as an interesting. She's sort of like that rich kid who sort of like does poverty tourism, if you know what I mean, in like political movements.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I think that there's some commentary on how somebody like the Joker can be used by people who are rich just to sort of like entertain themselves, and how a lot of those kind of movements can get hijacked. Like say back to Occupy Wall Street, that was what happened
Yeah.
with that basically. Um,
There
yeah,
was another part in the movie, one of their musical numbers, because I feel like some of the times the musical numbers took you out of the tension of how serious the scene could be. Because I feel like it's the same similar way that people criticize the MCU, where like some of the serious moments get laid to waste
yeah.
because of the comedy. There was one musical number that hit, and it was the one where she said she was pregnant. That one was actually not that bad. I like that one. It was the one after that. How where he was like, where she told him, "Hey, well, someone's just only thinking about themselves," and then he didn't think, because after what
Oh
that
yes.
lawyer told him, she shot him. And I was thinking to myself, would she really do that? But later on, that was kind of foreshadowed that she didn't do that, but she did betray him in a different way. That one I thought was actually pretty good.
Yeah, that was all of them are from in his brain, of course. Like they're not
Yeah.
really. I think there's maybe one that does happen, and I think that's when when the fire happens early
Oh
on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that one does happen. I could say that, but the rest of them not so much. I think that one where she shoots him is he's already feeling a bit of betrayal because the lawyer tells, like you said. I think that's his way of processing through the information the lawyer gave him, that she's
Yeah.
been lying about her upbringing and everything. And um,
I still can't believe there's a place in the world where a lady could just like checks herself into an insane asylum. That's crazy.
Canada, I guess. I don't know.
Oh fuck. Shit. Don't kill me
don't
now.
don't do that there. They might, let you send you to the maids program. I think they call it.
Or what was the other part? Jeez, there was another part that I liked. Oh my god. Jeez, if I can think of it. I don't think I think of it right now. But there was another part that I did enjoy that I can't. Oh, the sex scene. Dude, he gave her like 4 strokes and she said she was pregnant. Does that happen? 4 strokes.
Probably. Well, for a guy like Arthur, maybe.
I don't even know if he was imagining her there because, like, they know that she likes him and he liked her. Why would she? Why would they throw her in there with him? Like, was she? I don't even know if she was really there. Was he having sex with a wall?
I was kind of 50-50 on it, and then I realized that based on what we know of the guards, she probably did bribe her way in. That's probably how it worked.
Oh, no, she got on her knees.
Yeah, bribed in a way.
Bribed.
Bribed. Yeah.
Oh, there was the other part where I enjoyed Todd's interpretation of what Arkham Asylum is.
Yes. I do like those the way the prison guards are portrayed in general.
Oh yeah. Before they do the controversial scene, yeah.
I like that was set up. Everybody kind of acts like it comes out of nowhere in the movie, but it's been like a building piece of tension.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where you like this one guard, you can see the power dynamic between them, and it's very strange.
Mm-hmm.
but it really does paint a great picture of the asylum and what's wrong with it, and I think it's a nice interpretation of the Batman lore that I hadn't really seen before.
Yeah, because they don't really ever delve into like how badly Arkham Asylum or like Blackgate Prison would treat the inmates or prisoners actually. And what's really interesting is, I'll be honest here, I don't think they raped him. I actually thought about it more today at work. I think they just stripped him naked and turned on hot water to give him a shower.
Maybe, or beat him up.
The thing why I couldn't believe they beat him up is because he wasn't bruised at all. He wasn't bruised at all.
Yeah.
Wasn't bleeding anywhere. So maybe they just like turned the water up to like scalding hot and gave him a shower, or maybe they probed him with their sticks. Oh yeah, god.
So it's definitely a very controversial scene. It's not what people necessarily wanted to see.
Yeah.
It's in the movie is very uncomfortable, and it's definitely
right after purpose. It is. Yeah. After I saw that scene, dude, I'll be honest, I couldn't even look at the movie set anymore. I was like, hello.
I could delve into that a little bit.
Oh, go ahead.
Because earlier, just before that scene, we had learned that as a child he had been molested. I don't know what words to avoid on streams. You know what I mean?
Which was also alluded to. That was the reason why he killed his mom in the first one, was because he found out that she sent him back to the guy that she was dating who was sexually abusing him. Man, God, holy, what a bad day.
Yeah. So the way I interpreted that is that since it happened to him, if that was what happened in that scene, since it happened to him while he was in the Joker persona, that mean that he realized that the power he felt in that wasn't enough to like actually save him, and that's why he gave up on being the Joker. Not necessarily as surface level as it was understood to be. It is like out of context a very, I don't want to say silly scene, but like for social media reactions, it's definitely a funny scene. The memes that have been coming out from that movie, from that scene online, or something else.
God, the one video where Joker just bends over and Batman just probes him with a bat ring or something. My God.
That old, I guess Batman's never tried this one before.
I guess if we got to go down that far, holy shit.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah. I would say like I could be pulling too much from that scene. I mean, that was the wrong choice of words, but but at the same time, I think Todd Phillips is not a stupid guy, and I think there's a reason that the scene was there before.
I think he did some good stuff in the movie. There are some great acted scenes in there. Like it's just muddled in a lot of a different direction than I thought the movie was going to go. I was one of those people where I liked the first movie. I think it needed a sequel, but now we have the sequel. Now we have to just judge it off its own merits. Holy crap.
I honestly think that this may have been his way of getting them to stop making Joker movies.
Oh, no, that would definitely. I mean, he admitted he didn't want to do the other one unless Joaquin Phoenix was a part of it. And Warner Brothers' truckload of money they probably dumped on his doorstep probably was a final nail in the coffin for making the movie.
And in a way, he's kind of done this before. Hangover 3 was not what fans of Hangover 1 and 2 necessarily wanted. Have you ever seen those
Mhm.
movies? Um, it's funny to think that he's the Hangover guy. In hindsight.
Yeah, I
Very
remember he like with Christopher Nolan were like Warner Brothers directors for a while, weren't they? I think he directed most of his films for them. I know Hangover for sure, and these ones he's made through Warner Brothers.
yeah.
What? Was Taxi Driver made through Warner Brothers? Was it? I don't remember honestly.
It might have been. It would be sometimes there's so much to know about film that's hard to know
Yeah,
it all.
yeah.
But that would
Uh,
make a lot of sense. Yeah.
so I'll ask you this. Let's start with Marvel, because you saw Deadpool Wolverine, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Not as much as the first two. I think
Oh, okay, good, good.
yeah. I like the first two a lot more because the focus on like this outsider and his character and his little group of friends he builds
Mhm.
around him and like the family aspect where he doesn't feel like family is something worth doing, but then eventually in the second movie he realizes, oh, maybe I just need a different sort of family than I thought.
Yeah,
And then they're all just not in the third movie, and it's focused on you know, interdimensional agents and oh look cameo, oh look cameo. You know, it got a little tiring. I mean, I did like the opening, the intro sequence, even though I
oh,
really love.
that was gold. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I do love Logan, so it kind of hurt me inside. but
I'll say
but
for me, I enjoyed the movie for experience, but I never saw the first Deadpool movie. I only saw the second one, and the second one I didn't think was that good itself, honestly. And the third one, I remember like the villains. What really took me out of it is the villains. I thought she was just terrible, honestly.
yeah,
She was
I
such
agree.
an ass villain. She Cassandra, is that her name? Cassandra
Yeah,
something.
Cassandra
Cassandra
Nova.
Kane. Cassandra Nova or Kane?
I
Yeah.
think it's Nova, right?
Cassandra Nova. I think it was a good villain and all. The other one they had, oh, I forgot his name, it was Paradox or some shit like that. Just
Oh yeah,
bad. Oh, like the villains were just straight up bad. Like
yeah,
I if that movie, those two villains were in any other MC movie, they would get criticized to death, absolutely, completely eviscerated because they are terrible fucking villains. But they're in Deadpool Wolverine, so they're allowed to just get away scot free with no criticism at all.
yeah, unfortunately. I think her powers are interesting and like the way she uses them are, but beyond that, like that her writing is kind of weak, generally speaking. That's the biggest issue with the movie overall, is it feels like
Yeah,
it's less of a story and more of a way to show a bunch of things happening. You know what I mean?
yeah, and it's one of those characters where they could have did a lot more with her, but they just
Yeah.
kind of settled for she was just another generic bad NC villain like a lot of them are. I don't really understand what, like her acting wasn't bad, but
No.
someone could act really well, but the actual character they're portraying could also not hit. The other guy, I don't even count that guy as a fucking that guy
No.
was just straight trash. This
Yeah.
is awful.
It's
Who
really
was he?
sad. Yeah.
Paradox bullshit. What the hell?
It's really sad that after Thanos being as great as Thanos was,
Yeah.
at least in Infinity War, I'm kind of 50-50
Mhm.
on him in Endgame because they kind of reverted his character back, but whatever. That's a whole different thing. But
Mhm.
after that, like the villains have been horrible. I only watched before Deadpool and Wolverine. I only watched what was it? The Wakanda Forever film. That one because
Oh,
I
Black Panther
heard it was
2. Yeah.
yeah, I heard it was terrible, and boy was it. uh,
That one I didn't see. The only movie that I haven't seen from that one from this phase up is the Marvels and Black Panther 2. I've seen everything else.
okay, yeah, Black Panther 2 is very strange. It's although I gotta say, there's part of me that really loves the comic book accurate tiny wings on the ankles. He was flying around like that, Namor. Although they changed everything else about him, so whatever.
So, like, when it comes to, oh, forgot the other part for Deadpool Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
Wolverine. So Wolverine, I like as a character. Obviously, I love Wolverine. I read the
yeah.
comic books a lot too. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in that movie is just kind of, I would say, does he feel like he's just kind of there?
Yeah, sort of. I think the issue is he's kind of redoing his arc from Logan. It's just not as good. And I think he has the
Yeah.
same structure. It's like he's given up and then he has to make the
I don't
sacrifice.
Yeah, because I don't have a reason to like this Wolverine because of what he told his his daughter, so to speak, who's she's definitely looking great. I'll say Time has definitely aged with her, where he said like this whole universe collapsed for this reason. And what I thought they should have did is they should have just showed a flashback for all of what he did wrong, like the stuff he had brought up. Like I didn't think his performance was all that bad. I just struggled to find a reason to care about that version of Wolverine because that's not the one from Logan. And I'm supposed to just get behind this version of Wolverine, which is like, hey, I just have a banter with Deadpool. And it's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah. It's it was hard to get attached to anything in that movie, I think is a real issue. Especially since just before that, I'd finally gotten around to watching Andor, if you know the Star Wars show.
Star Wars theory, yeah.
I was like, oh, so that's good writing, good characters. What? How did this happen? Like, how is that possible? They could do that.
I did hear a lot of people say that after Obi-Wan, Andor was the best Disney Plus Star Wars series. Because I just watched Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, and I was like, well, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah. No, I didn't even like Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was, why would you do that? But yeah, Andor is really good, even though it's about a character who dies. But like, I mean, like, that's a half of Star Wars anyway. We know how most of these characters end up. It's really good at like this structure and pacing, and like the characters you actually care about. Like you learn to really care about each of them. And it has a lot of elements that people would probably call like woke or whatever, but even that, it doesn't really necessarily matter because it's just sort of like what the characters are and not something the studio decided, hey, we're going to force this on you. It's it's a little different, you know? It's like, oh, it's part of the story. It's not just some part of a message.
Is there any other like big criticisms you see in like the movie community that you just want to talk about? Like anything that just irks you generally when it's brought up as a narrative, besides because you brought up one earlier about the whole like everything is made to hate you or something like that. Do you have any other ones similar like that actually?
Oh, this is going to be really controversial in this side of the internet, but
hit me hard, beat me with a bat.
Barbie is not bad in my opinion.
I haven't seen Barbie yet, so I cannot critique it. So
okay, when you understand Barbie, it's not for me. It's not for most of us, which is probably why it doesn't do well on this side of the internet. But if you understand it as like a story about a girl leaving the party lifestyle and growing up, I think there's a lot more there than we give it credit for. And also just it's hard to understand it as a guy. It's not really a movie made for me, so I can't really say a whole lot about it. But there's a lot more going on there than I think people give it credit for. It's not man-hating. Yeah. There's certain characters in it who are man-hating, but they kind of just acknowledge that that's part of life. Like that's just a person who would exist and does exist, as far as I took it anyway. So I think that movie is unfairly hated.
Okay.
Granted, I did Barbenheimer the day it came out. I watched both back to back. That was a fun time.
Your brain would be just mush.
Yeah, it was a complimentary experience. You know, you get the bright colors, and suddenly you're in hell.
Did you like Oppenheimer? Actually,
yeah, I really like Oppenheimer. There's a lot of I'm somebody who really I can deal with a lot as long as the characters are good, and that movie is all about character.
And do you remember the whole debacle with Christopher Nolan and Warner Brothers? Because he had been doing movies for them since when Batman Begins, I think. Pretty sure it's around that time period. Yeah. And then if people don't remember, because if people don't remember, the reason why he doesn't want to work with them anymore is two big reasons. So they released Tenet at a time period where people really couldn't go to the theaters. So it was going to shoot his box office earnings. And he's one of those directors like, he has a director has this kind of deal where he gets a percentage of the box office number. So he has a direct incentive to put his movies in the theaters, to have them reach a large amount of people, to get the most money. And he's such a big name now that, like you just said with Oppenheimer, people are going to go watch movies now because his name's on it. It's just, he's just that kind of guy now. So you guys can see what I just brought up there. With Tenet releases in a certain virus period that I can't say right now on YouTube, he's definitely going to make less money. And the other nail in the coffin for that was Warner Brothers did the whole day and date release where they put their entire movie catalog on HBO Max the same day coming out in theaters. So as theaters were struggling to survive, Warner Brothers said, all these big blockbuster tentpoles that people would have came and seen exclusively in theaters, fuck you. We're going to compete with you. And he was like, I'm out. He straight up said, I'm done.
Yeah, that was a terrible move. Granted, Tenet was just okay. In my
Mhm.
opinion, the
I
sound
saw
design is
Tenet. It's
yeah,
just
this
too long. It's
yeah,
such a long movie for no reason.
the sound design is what really killed it for me. It's so
It's
hard to understand.
even if you watch it at home, the sound
Yeah,
design is horrible.
yeah. As somebody who does a lot of editing, I always wonder what did they do? Like, did they just not listen to the movie as as they made it?
Yeah.
um,
So, because I know a lot of people have differing opinions on Tenet. For me, I think it's just too long. I think the plot stretches out for something.
yeah,
He did that thing of like, I'm gonna really make some cinema here where you peon retarded morons with no brains can't understand what I'm making in cinema. When in reality, the movie's just a love story, and then it's basically a guy that saved another guy and then went back in time to tell him that he's that guy that saved him. I'm being honest, that's literally the entire movie.
yeah.
It's 3 hours of this. Chris, what are you doing?
Yeah, for a movie about time, it doesn't really value yours all
It
that
does
much.
not. Bro, you're there for hours with this movie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cool visuals, as is always the case. Robert Pattinson, that was a film I realized, oh, this guy is not bad actually. He's pretty good in the movies he's in.
And Tenet, yeah, he was great in
Yeah,
Tenet.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's been great in like everything else I've seen him in recently, like
Mhm.
Lighthouse. I don't know if you watch
I've watched
Lighthouse.
it. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, yeah.
I like Lighthouse.
That's a wild one. I like the Lighthouse a lot. Um, but
Did you
yes,
like
yeah.
the other movies that guy's done? Robert Eager, what's his name?
Yeah, Egger. I think it's
Robert Egger.
Eggers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I really do like his movies because he's somebody who doesn't necessarily when he makes a movie, he doesn't really care about any of the conversation going on outside of the movie. He just wants to make a movie that's as historically accurate to the way the people would have been at the time. So that like the Northman, like he didn't care to even make the characters necessarily empathetic to us as people now. He just had them act the way they would have at the time. And it to me it was great. I really enjoyed that movie. And I'm looking forward to his Nosferatu adaptation that's coming out in December. Uh,
Oh, did you watch not the Lighthouse? I saw that one. Did you watch the Northman that he
yes,
did?
that one's great.
That
That
was a
one
great
yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. As I was saying, I think that one definitely,
That one
it's really
sucks because it sucks. The movie theaters doesn't have an audience where they want to see like medieval fantasy movies like that. I'm not a medieval fantasy kind of guy myself, but that movie was just so good. It sucks that it failed. Honestly,
yeah, and it's one of those stories that's, lasted for a long time because it was based off of the myth that inspired some of Shakespeare's work.
yeah.
So there was a lot of, great story connection there.
Mhm.
Hamlet, it was of course it was specifically Hamlet. That's why his name is Amleth. That was, um, but yes, and like I said, Nosferatu is going to be great. I can already tell based on the trailers that that movie, his next one, is going to be awesome.
Oh, what other movies have come out that have been? I to be I didn't hate Spiral when it came out for the Saw franchise. I thought Spiral was actually pretty decent. People hated me for saying that. It had a story, unlike the other ones that just well, they just exist. Let's just say that they're just movies. Some of the
Yeah,
movies ever made, let's say, good gosh,
yeah, yeah. They're not the best writing, but they're not bad. Recent releases, I haven't been able to make it to the theaters as often lately.
yeah.
I
Turns
did
out
just
having a
watch.
family would do that for you.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, damn
I
it.
did. I did just watch Transformers One.
Did you like
Uh,
it?
yeah, it was pretty fun. I mean, it
Mhm.
was too rushed, I think is my main complaint with it. I was gonna put up a video about it soon, but I think
Okay.
it's just really compressed. It's like
Mhm.
they feel like they have to get them to the point they are in the cartoon, the old cartoon, like by the end of the movie, and it's just not quite doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the character changes. But lots of fun fan stuff, really good design for the world and the soundtrack and everything. I really I think it's and honestly, Chris Hemsworth gives a really great performance, especially following up the shoes of the original voice actor. I was pretty impressed by him. Um, oh, and
Yeah,
Megatron.
I think the reason why the movie did not do as well is because the Transformers franchise has such a bad name to it because of Michael
Yeah,
Bay. Michael Bay ruined Transformers' box office chances. They're better off not making any more right now and just kind of like coming back with a stronger movie that has good word of mouth. Because like right now, if you try to convince someone there's a good Transformers movie out, you are like trying to pull teeth or you're trying to convince
yeah,
them to a bridge to sell them because Michael Bay really, really damaged the whole brand's name. Like anytime we bring up Transformers, they're like, man, what about those bad Michael Bay movies? He'll always come up given how bad his movies were.
and
Actually,
it's
just
real.
terrible.
Yeah, it is too bad. Because I think everybody can agree that giant robots are great.
Yeah,
You know?
love me some giant robots actually. And hey, can't go wrong with Megan Fox half naked on a motorcycle, right?
Yeah, the first one is not so bad, I'll say. The rest of them are not great though, unfortunately. They kind of
Mhm.
fall apart. As far as other recent releases, I guess I really haven't seen a whole lot other than, I mean, I saw Megalopolis. Or
Oh, yeah,
yeah, that's a
Megaplopolis.
yeah, yeah. That's a fun one. I don't mind it. I love it when a creator makes something really big that's basically just for himself, and he, like, funded himself and everything. He's
Yeah,
like, "I
yeah.
don't care about any of you guys. I'm selling all my vineyards. I'm gonna make the movie I wanna make." And that movie is insane. It's I'm so glad I saw it in theaters because I don't think I'm
Mhm.
gonna see anything like Megalopolis again.
So, if I had to ask you, what are your top 10 movies of all time? What would you
Oh,
give me?
top 10, that's difficult. I give you
Or some of your
so
favorites, I'll say, make it
yeah.
easier.
Okay, so the guy who made The Exorcist, he made a movie called Sorcerer. I really like that one. It's good structure. It's about people with various backgrounds having to transport nitroglycerin through the jungle to put out a fire, and it's really smart in the way it develops those characters. Um, I like. Let's see. I tend to like a whole lot. There's a lot of movies for me are like songs. It's like it depends on the mood I'm in.
Yeah, yeah.
But I really liked The Killer. If you
Mm,
that yeah, that one came out. I believe it was last year that it came out. Oh wait, no, it might have been yeah, it was last year. The Killer was on streaming. It's David Fincher. I think it's on Netflix. About
okay.
it's about a hitman, and it's supposed to be about how good he is, but really, as you watch the movie, you realize it's not actually about how good he is. It's more
Mhm.
about everything falling apart for him, and the carefully created image he has for himself falling apart. It's a very smart one. Let's see. As far as like schlockier stuff goes, um, let's see. In the Mouth of Madness or Mouth of Madness, it's an old '80s John Carpenter movie.
Mhm.
Um, it's a insurance fraud investigator has to decide whether this author's disappearance is actually because he is disappearing or if they're just trying to like make money off of him.
Yeah.
But then he realizes when he gets to the small town where he's supposed to be that things are not exactly as they seem. It's
Maybe what you need to do is just start doing video essays on a bunch of Netflix movies that drop. There's a bunch of them that drop that are just dropped into the abyss, and that's why streaming gets to be like in this part of the movie zeitgeist where you could have some really great movies that'll probably drop on Netflix, but no one's gonna watch them because they just don't know they exist. That's the problem with streaming releases. You know, when people kept
yeah.
saying to the movie business, "Well, streaming is the future," and then I remember Patty Jenkins had a comment on it. She was like, streaming movies are basically like a ghost town. I rarely like I'll hear about them, but no one's like will talk. She gave that bit about streaming movies, and people got mad or like, well, 184 sucks. And I was like, well, I guess two things can be true, right? But
Yeah.
that's the thing is, she wasn't wrong when she said that. Like streaming movies very rarely capture and hit as hard as they do. Like there's very few of them, and even when some of them do, they're out of the conversation fast, honestly.
Yeah, super fast. It's unfortunate. And I'm glad theaters seem like they're coming back and kind of sticking around because that is I want theaters to be a big experience when you go. I want
Mhm.
it to be an event. Like it's a
Yeah,
thing you go with friends and that kind of thing. And
yeah.
it's way more enjoyable to me. Granted, you have to deal with fat morons chewing popcorn loudly and eating pizza and stinking up the place. But, but yeah, they can stay in the lower rows. I'll be at the top. It's fine.
There was this new movie called The Wild Robot, which is based on a book. People said it was
Yeah.
really good. I wanted to go see it on Saturday, but I was so tired from work. It's that's what sucks is that being tired from work means I don't go to the theater sometimes, even on my days off, because I'm just
Yeah,
so
same for
dead.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I want to
I'm
go to
very
theaters to
busy.
watch them. Yeah, like I want to go to theaters to watch them in theaters, but the problem is like, bruh, you just sit there like, how can you fully enjoy a movie if you're like dead when you're sleeping on there? You
That's
know?
the real reason I wanna turn this into a career, just so I have time to go to movies.
Like on my only day off coming up next week, I'm working 6 days at the week. My only day off is Tuesday. Well, my theater
Yeah.
is closed on Monday and Tuesdays now.
Oh, no. That
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah. So I can't go. So I'd have to fucking I can't go watch anything right now until I make time for it. Whether I go potentially Friday, which the movie I want to watch is not there, and I mean Venom: The Last Dance comes out this week coming up. Maybe I'll have time for it.
But even
at
that,
one of the
yeah.
showtimes. You know, I'll probably go and see that. But I've seen Venom 1, 2, and I've seen Morbius. So yeah, so I'll probably get a rope to hang myself after watching that shit.
Yeah. I was disappointed by Morbius. I really like that character from the comics in general.
Mhm,
I like the concept of him, and unfortunately, at
mhm.
Jared Leto and everything else about that movie just wasn't good. But yeah, that is a big issue with having a film channel on YouTube. Is if you're somebody who works constantly, like I do, you don't have time to go to the theater and review things in a timely manner and get the reviews out so people see it faster. But I think maybe that's why I got to switch to these video essays because it seems like those do pretty well.
Yeah, you're essentially going, hey, I can't give you the shorter form content, so I'll just give you the longer form content. You have to wait for it, but it will be good when you get it. That's the I want to make
Yeah.
similar content like that too. The ones you're doing, it's just I haven't had time to sit down and do it. I've just been dead busy. I already have it mapped out in my head. I've written everything down. I just haven't had time to get on fucking camera and start doing it. That's it. It's literally it. I've everything
Yeah,
planned already.
I get to cheat by not being on camera for most of mine. But yes,
Mhm.
uh, that has helped. There was a bit where I was trying to figure out how to do it all on camera, and I realized it's just not possible. The amount, and I don't need people to look at my face with my puffy eyes from not sleeping at that point if I was doing it all on camera like that. So, yeah, yeah.
All right. So the last few things I'll ask you before we head out of here, which is the first thing is, do you have anything planned coming up in 2024, going into 2025 that you want to let the audience know about?
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing more of these video essays, I think. Picking up my show a little bit more. I do a thing called Show Ruiners where I have guests on and just talk about movies. It's kind of like a podcast
Awesome.
format. Yeah, I like
Okay.
that one a lot. Maybe you
Here's
could,
what a podcast is.
yeah, maybe you can come on.
Me? You allow
Yeah,
black
if you
people on
want.
your show? What the hell? Crazy.
Wait,
I'm
what?
white. I'm white. I'll
I
always be
didn't
allowed
realize you were. Oh, okay, well, never
on.
mind. I'm just
See,
kidding.
I'm transracial. You can do those
Yeah,
things now.
yeah, I guess you can. We'll swap places.
Holy shit. You're going to be in
Yeah,
prison. Ah, just
yeah,
kidding. You'll be, what's that movie
I
called
would be.
Shutter Island with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
you'll be in
yeah.
real prison there.
So, continue on with with the things I plan on doing. One of them is not turning black. That's a different thing entirely.
See, I agree with that. Don't ever do that. Don't ever turn black. That's an
No,
L.
I'm gonna be I mean, I've been writing for a while a bunch of scripts for like profiles on directors that I think are very important for film,
Mhm,
and like and why people should care about them.
mhm.
So I'm kind of like giving a quick casual class on what these directors who influence modern films
Yeah.
did and why they matter to me. I'm going to put out a bunch of video essays. I have so much stuff planned. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it. But yeah, that's my big thing for next year is hopefully pre-recording and editing a whole bunch of stuff and having it post up consistently so that I can really, hammer in on what I'm doing here.
Awesome. So the last thing I'll ask you is, do you have any shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular and any other closing thoughts or statements before we end the show?
Yeah. As far as shout outs go, I have a friend. His name is Tyrone Deise,
Mhm.
Deise. He makes steamed hams videos, like the meme format. But he makes them at a whole other level because he's a real director up in Canada, and he makes these really funny. He did one steamed hams if it's a German impressionist film, and steamed hams if it's a Netflix crime drama, and things like that. And I think his work is underappreciated on YouTube, so I want to give him a shout out. I think he's very funny. Um, and besides that, you can follow me over on X. It's Chris Kola YouTube or YT. Um, and I think, yeah, I'll be trying to post more consistently. It was fun being on here.
Yeah, anytime, man. Can't wait to have you on back again to talk about some more movies that we see or TV shows. I definitely got to get back on my movie watching. I've been just last movie I watched in theaters was Joker 2, and before that, the last thing I watched was Alien Romulus. But
Yeah,
I have a series on my channel where I do the whole like full day of going to the movie theater. I like doing it. It's just got to find time to go to the theaters and watch a movie because
yeah,
life.
exactly. It's time.
Uh,
That's what matters here. It's just time. Yeah.
so all right. So just want to say thank you for Mr. Chris Kohler for coming onto the show. It's great talking to you, man. Glad to have you here for the first time. And thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK show. And we will see you guys next